Okay, so for those of you that could not attend or that did attend but want a reminder, I'm recording this once again from my home, so my cats are apparently deciding to get involved. I'm just going to walk you through a little bit of the math and my thought process here. So the first one is a footing calculator, which is to help you determine the cost of footing that you're going to be putting into your arena. And what I've done is basically just I chose a 100 by 200 foot arena, which is just an average size. So general riding. When you are going to do your own arena for your facility management plan, you can size this up or down depending on what you want the size of your arena to be. So to start with, you need to decide on, we need to calculate the volume of footing that you would need. So here I've got depths of 2 inches, 3 inches, and 4 inches. And I'm just having you calculate a few of them so that you just have a chart to work with later on. So volume is 3 dimensions. I've given you your arena in 2 dimensions. Your third dimension is height, which is either 2 inches, 3 inches, or 4 inches. And then because your other 2 dimensions are in feet, you just need to convert these to feet. So 2 inches is an eighth of a foot, so that's 0.16. 3 inches is a quarter of a foot, so 0.25. And 4 inches is a third of a foot, or 0.33 feet. And then that's just length times, or width times length times height would equal 3,200. So for instance, your first box there is going to be 3,200. To get cubic yards, you divide by 27. So 3,200 divided by 27. And I didn't bring a calculator with me. So wait, hold on. I know what that is. It is, nope. I don't have that on me. Oh, maybe it's 119. I think it's 119. Okay. And then you would do the same for these. This is just so you have this available to do the math later on. Okay. So when I was putting footing into an arena, I realized that people will sell it by volume or ton, but then they will price it in a different unit. So for instance, they'll tell you, well, I can send you a truckload that and the truck has 10 cubic yards in it, and the price is $6.25 per ton. And you're like, great. So how much is that? And, or, you don't want a whole truckload. So they need to know how much of a truck you want. And you need to know how much you can afford based on how much money you have. So it can be a little bit confusing. So the first one you're going to do is calculate 4 inches of sand. So that would be, and sand is sold, as pounds per cubic yard. So you need the number that you put in the cubic yard column, which, because I've said this 4 times this week, I know is 244. So you have 244, or you need 244 cubic yards, and that would be multiplied by 2,700 pounds per cubic yard, because that's was given to us by the company. And if you do that math, you will see that is 658,800 pounds. 6,058,800 pounds. Okay? Well, it's priced per ton, so then we need to convert it to tons. And I told you up here that there are 2,000 pounds in every ton. So 658,800 pounds times ton per 2,000 pounds equals roughly 330 tons. Then we can multiply by our price. So 330 tons times $6.25 per ton equals $2,059. Okay, so that would be your price for 4 inches of sand. The next are 3 inches of sand and 3 inches of something else. So for 3 inches of sand, you would use your cubic yards for 3 inches and then follow through with the same math. For these factors here, I was given weights per cubic foot. So instead of using your cubic yard column, you would use your cubic foot column. They are also priced in slightly different units. So we've got dollars per ton. So you would need to do this conversion here. Whereas the dollars per pound, you could stop with pounds and then multiply by your 82 cents per pound, for instance. Clay is the easiest one because they priced it per cubic yard. So you know how many cubic yards you need, and you know your price per cubic yard. So the calculations there are much simpler. All right, so then identify which one you would pick and why, and then justify it based off your discipline, practice cost, whatever factors you're going to use to justify why you're picking that. Eventually, you're going to have to size up to your arena that you're using for your facility management plan so that you can calculate the cost of this footing so that can go in your startup costs. Okay, so that's the first one. And the second one is a manure management plan. So in this example, in this example, what I've given you is the fact that the average horse produces 10 tons of manure per year. You have 2 horses. So if you have 2 horses and they each produce 10 tons of manure, then we're getting 20 tons of manure every year. Keep in mind that composting reduces this by half. So if you compost, you actually have 10 tons. So raw manure is 20 tons. Compost is 10 tons. I'm giving you, in this example, 2 acres of pasture on which to spread the manure annually. And I'm telling you that you did a soil analysis, and it's telling you that you need 65 pounds of nitrogen per acre in order to amend the soil for good forage growth. So the first question I'm asking you is, how many tons of raw manure can you ethically spread on your pastures? So you know that you need 65 pounds of nitrogen per acre, and you have 2 acres. So if we multiply by 2 acres, that gets us 130 pounds of nitrogen. Then we know that our raw manure has 8.73 pounds of nitrogen in every ton. So we need 130 pounds of nitrogen, and our raw manure in every 1 ton has 8.73 pounds of nitrogen. So if we divide 130 by 8.73, that gets us roughly 14 tons of manure. So if you spread 14 tons of manure, that will provide 65 pounds of nitrogen per acre. If you get a slightly different number, that's perfectly fine. You round it up or down, which None of this is perfect anyway, so that's fine. So how many tons of raw manure are produced every year? Well, you have 2 horses, and they produce 10 tons per horse. So that equals 20 tons of manure. So if you produce 20 tons, but you can only spread 14, do you have enough land to spread manure on? You have 20, you can only get rid of 14. So that means there's 5 to 6, depending on how you rounded, left over that you cannot spread on your land. These ones here, this is if you spread that much. So if you spread 14 tons of manure, how many pounds of phosphorus are you spreading per acre? So if you're spreading 14 tons and there's 1.67 pounds per ton, then you can follow through that math to figure out how many total pounds of phosphorus you're spreading. And then remember that you have 2 acres. So per 1 acre, divide by 2 to get your phosphorus per acre rate. Questions 5 and 6 have to do with compost. So you're using the same math, but you're substituting in your compost values. And then in 7, size up to your boarding operation in terms of land and your number of horses. So I gave you 2 horses. A lot of you had 20 horses. Some of you had 200 acres. Some of you had fewer acres, but you can put those numbers in place here and then perform the calculations and write a brief summary, like 2 to 3 sentences. Okay? That's all.